Hi. We are beginning to space these times out in preparation for the next phase on Sunday mornings beginning June 7th, the parking lot services. Now, in the last chat, beginning the subject of God-directed giving, we started that by looking at the obvious, what we most often think of with God-directed giving, and that would be the financial. And I also mentioned in that one that some of the other forms of God-directed giving are actually much more difficult. Back when Lisa and I were newlyweds, the first 3 years or so of our 38 as husband and wife, whenever we would go back home, like from Florida or North Carolina, where I went to school, we would go back to Ellison Bay, and we'd be with mom and dad visiting. And in those early years, I kind of noticed that back under her dad's roof, Lisa tended to relate to her dad more as like the leader, as she always had, as, dad, the authority, the one you look to or ask questions to or get opinions from. And as a young husband, I felt that, and I talked with her about it. She's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. And, I realized that it took a while being oriented to her dad to reorient to me when we were with her dad in those certain circumstances. And I think probably, a number of brides might go through that little adjustment there when they've had, a loving father, a good leader at home, and, they get married. It's sort of like, how do I honor dad but follow my husband? Anyway, I'm trying to draw an analogy. When we come to Jesus, we have a new identity. We have a new leader, where previously our feelings had been our leader. Now we don't stuff our feelings. We acknowledge our feelings, but we submit them to Jesus and what he says to do, often in spite of our feelings. Also, our circumstances no longer lead us. We acknowledge our circumstances, we take them seriously, and we seek to follow Jesus now in circumstances instead of just letting circumstances determine our reaction. Also, our appetites and desires are not things that we should deny, but things that we are in touch with and we bring and submit to Jesus as our new leader. So giving Jesus our first consideration in how we respond to life is God-directed giving. And it's harder than financial giving. It's not normal, it's not natural, it takes time. It's a reorienting to him as Lord of our lives, where it is difficult, where we would normally react to the things I just mentioned. It is something, though, that we can give to Jesus that he really values. It's something, too, that we, in giving to Jesus, we also give to each other when we look to Jesus before we react, when we consider his lordship of our lives before we react or respond. Today and right now, there's all kinds of reactions. There are all kinds of reactions and disputes among Christians and in various churches right now. People are all over the map about C-19. Apparently there's some disputing about what strong leadership is, when to reconvene. I think even whether or not to wear masks in Walmart, it's interesting. The different times you go, what you see, what you don't see, and how that goes back and forth. Under biblical leadership, let's give our attention to Romans 14 through 15:13. Romans 14 through 15:13. I'm not going to read it. I'd like you to prayerfully go through it. And again, this isn't just for information. This is where we read, look to Jesus in submission, for direction, for the elders as a team to seek the Lord and direct the church, for discernment of what is biblical, to best point to Jesus, looking to him first in all things, especially these things. This is God-directed giving. God bless you.